Pollock, thanks for joining me today, mate. Really appreciate it.
Great
Long time no see.
Has been a while.
How you been?
Mate, I've been great actually. I wouldn't say great. It's sometimes a bit of a roller coaster up and down in life, but in general, yeah, life's good.
Before we get started, obviously we've got a whole bunch to talk about.
Yep.
I just want you to tell the listeners how we know each other. So it's been a few years.
Yep.
We met in 2015, I believe.
Yep.
So just give the listeners a little bit of a rundown and our background and our history.
So in 2015, I decided to sign on with the mighty Virginia Rams Football Club.
Yep.
A bit of a mercenary. I, again, headhunted and thought I was the missing piece to potentially get the club's first premiership in 20 years. We met, we became like good mates and got on well, and you got a very open mind, and so do I, and we have a passion for investing and things like that, and we became friends. But that's how we met, and then we went on to play in a premiership together in 2015, and went on to lose the grand final in 2016.
That's all right. 2 grand finals in 2 years, you can't go wrong with that.
No, I can't. 2016 hurts me a little bit. But
it does, but you know, looking back at that year, we were always the second best team. I think we played the grand final at Smaller 5 times that year. So there's 3 times in the regular season, twice in the final series. They beat us pretty much convincingly every single time.
Yeah, I think a few people got complacent with winning one flag the year before, and I think people were happy with that. I'd won flags previous to that, and I'm never happy with one.
No. I actually think it makes you hungrier that after you've had a taste of one, you want to actually win another.
100%.
And I reckon the hunger. So like my footy career, like I'm no superstar or anything, right? I just like enjoy having a kick.
You're pretty handy, mate. You're pretty handy.
Yeah, look, I bobbed up here and there, but no, nonetheless, honestly, like my first 3-4 years in under 14s, won wooden spoons.
Yep.
I reckon I didn't win a game for 2 years.
Yep.
Then just to win a game was just a sense of achievement. Then once we started winning games in my senior Colts, we started, making finals. Lost a couple of prelims by under a kick. They were pretty devastating. I'm like, all I want to do is just make a grand final.
Yeah.
Then I made a few and I lost them. I'm like, now I just want to win one. That hunger of winning one, and once I did win one with you, I'm like, this is great, but now I know what it takes to win one. I know that I've got what it takes to contribute to the team. I want it badly. I actually wanted it more the next year than I did in that first year, because it was the whole journey of that year. It was actually more exciting than the destination. Like the grand final was one day. You can't, like, after years go by, you don't really remember too much from that day, but you remember glimpses and little pieces of the puzzle to get to that point. I actually really enjoyed that journey. I actually thought it was a great year. We were on top. We lost a couple of games at home, but we could beat that particular team that beat us at home away. It was just one of those things, and how it unfolded. I'm like, great day, great grand final, really appreciated it. But that next year, starving. I wanted it more. Unfortunately, I think a lot of our teammates had a bit of a hangover. Not the alcoholic hangover, but they were just content with winning one. And I think that's really dangerous when it comes to life as well. Just obviously footy, you can really reflect some of the life lessons that you make in footy. You can use that in other aspects of your life. And I think by just being content is quite dangerous.
I think you're 100% right, mate. And that first year was fantastic because, again, it's the first grand final, a premiership winning in 20 years.
Yep.
And obviously our coach, Steve Papanotis, played in that one. And I remember just the day being super hot. But like you said, it was that day I don't remember a lot either. Yeah. But I do remember a great bunch of guys through the year, and that's what I loved about the club. And having a captain like Ben Russell was fantastic. Yeah, it was. And again, just a true leader. But then that next year, it more than anything, just like you said, lessons in life you learn, and life's about opportunities and then taking those opportunities. And I still believe we were the best team. Yeah. I still believe Malala lost one of their key players, Bruggeman, through the year, and another one did a knee injury. And
yes, he did.
The stars are
it was opening for us, wasn't
it? It was whether we wanted to commit, and unfortunately, too many passengers were willing to just do enough, and didn't commit. I think the Thursday night before the grand final was probably the biggest indicator for me. I look back on, we had 13 A-grade players there. Yeah. And as a guy who's taken football quite seriously over the years, and it's not necessarily a win-win-win, have to win all the time mentality. It's you're part of a team, and you're striving towards a common goal. And that takes sacrifice, and it takes trust in your teammates. And I lost a bit of trust with my teammates throughout the year. And then that Thursday night, I remember you should have had everyone there.
Excited, up and about. And put in that hard work throughout the year, because I think that Thursday before the grand final in 2016 was a reflection of that whole year. You compare that to what it was that time last year, where everyone was attending trainings Tuesdays, Thursdays. We even did a few rehabs on the Sundays. We went to the beach, I'm pretty sure. Mr. Pilgrim Cafe down at Semaphore. We had a nice latte and a bit of smashed abalone toast with a couple of coaches. I remember doing that, like, all that sort of stuff. We were doing all the right things. We had such good camaraderie. The camaraderie was still there the next year, but just as life shows to a lot of people, if you don't put in the hard work, you're not going to get the results that you want. And, yes, we were a talented bunch of blokes and we got to where we did, making another grand final. But as you said, we could have beaten them, but we didn't.
Yeah, and that in the end, it's done and dusted.
Probably just desserts for the effort that we put in that year.
Yeah, it was, and that's exactly true, and that's the lesson I took away from it. And I took a lot away from that, even though like losing. And like I'm fortunate enough, I played in 13 grand finals.
Yep.
I've won 7 premierships.
That's pretty good.
16 years. Like I'm very fortunate, but that hasn't come off the back of like I helped drive a lot of them. And it's a really important factor, but the losses, I've actually lost some grand finals and been happy. It's like, you know what, we actually had a crack.
Yeah,
we just weren't good enough, but everyone committed. But that 1 year at Virginia, because life's about making memories. And when I got the opportunity to coach, I said, I'll put you guys in a position to make memories. It's up to you whether you like we get the outcome and make the memory, but history is so important, and the only thing that makes history is time and experiences.
Exactly.
And we just missed an opportunity there, I think.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, I don't think everyone knew how to celebrate a grand final rightly.
Exactly.
The first year, but the second year, everyone knows what to do. So it would have been a completely different setup and story. But hey, look, we listen and we learn, and experiences are great. And mate, from Virginia, I take away, it's probably one of the clubs I'm still close with a number of guys. Every club I've been to, I'm still close with at least 1 or 2. And Virginia, I'm still close to probably 3 or 4, you being one of them. And being Russell and I are still very close mates. And in the end, that's the best part of it. Grand finals are great, premierships are great, but relationships, and that's for me, life is. That's
what you remember, and that's what you take away.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. So, I
was going to say, like, medals collect dust on a mantelpiece, right? Framed Guernseys, that's just sit on the wall. Some people just chuck them in the cupboard, but it's the friendships, it's the intangibles, I think, that you get out of a flag, or even just being at a club where you just shared a lot of good memories. It's the intangibles. Those tangible things, they're just really, like, I'm not a materialistic person. It's like a medal's all cool, it's on my mantelpiece. Every now and then I look at it and like, you think back of those like special days and that you had throughout the season. But funnily enough, I think about more of those days, those non-grand final days, than I actually do of that day. Because it was all those little pieces to the puzzle that made us who we were. And that was cool.
And that's culture. That's making culture. Like, again, premierships are only the end result.
That's
and
right.
There's only one winner every year. And it does frustrate me a little bit. Like I'm quite into the NFL, the American football, and they celebrate people even though they've made a Super Bowl but they haven't won it, because they know how hard it is to win.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still an element in Australia where you're a failure if you lose a grand final.
100%.
And it's like, no, like you're not a failure, you've still got there.
Well, you look at NFL, for example, right? We celebrate like the best centre half forwards of all time, especially in the modern era. I seen something the other day on social media. They had Jonathan Brown in there, they had Warren Trevor in there. They had all these premiership centre half forwards. But where's the Nick Revolts? Absolute gun of a player. Just unfortunately, slipped on the final hurdle a few times. But a phenomenal footballer. Could have been. He was probably been your number 1 pick in any other team. You build a side around that guy at his peak. But premierships shouldn't define players.
No.
I think it should just be their contributions, not only on field but off field as well, and just the character of the person and their ability to be loyal and stay with that one club, or even if they have moved, just what their contributions are at those different particular venues anyway.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And look, again, and to win a premiership takes a lot of luck.
It does.
It takes a lot of luck. Like I've won I think 3 by under 8 points.
And
there was a couple of moments in all those grand finals. Luck was there. And now luck is as Oprah Winfrey said, it's no such thing as luck, but with preparation and you put yourself in the right time, then luck it comes. And that's what they put us up. But luck doesn't come without preparation.
When it's a line ball and you've put in the work, you've dedicated, I think the benefit of the doubt always goes to you. things always fall on your side of the fence.
Agreed. But then it's all about the 50-50 ball. But if you get 10 50-50 balls a game, right, and you've done more work than your opponent,
you win 6.
At least 6 or 7.
Yeah,
now, that's that's only an extra couple. But then the differentiation between him winning 3 or 4 and you winning 6 or 7 is actually 3 or 4. So it's a greater gap.
It is,
and that's where the importance comes.
100%.
So and then that's why it's really important that people get over a small mistake as long as they're prepared to try and the old saying as a footy coach was don't let one mistake lead to 2.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing, and it's so true because mistakes are infectious because it creates laziness. And
absolutely.
And acceptance that's okay. And then you need conviction to go, we missed that handball, we missed that kick. I'm going to take it upon myself if I get the football. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to miss that.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't always happen that way. That's right.
Yep.
Right. But that's a whole essence of the team.
But that's also infectious as well, Pollock.
Yeah.
Like, for example, a couple of mistakes, it's a chain reaction.
Yep.
It just then extends, and then obviously, as you said, that's infectious, but also someone actually putting their hand up and taking it upon themselves to right those wrongs, and to obviously just go get that hard ball.
Yep.
That's infectious as well. That actually, it's spine tingling when you see like one of your teammates who you love having beer with after the game doing all those little things.
Yep.
Then you're thinking to yourself, geez, I'm going to put in an extra few hard yards for him too. Like, I'm not playing for myself. Yeah, we're all selfish to an extent, but also, you know what? For him to go and do that, I actually want to put my body on the line for him as well.
And that goes back to relationships.
Yeah.
And you create good relationships with your teammates. You want to do more with them and for them.
Yep.
And that's I had a genuine love for all my teammates. I could actually put a dislike aside for my teammate because I was such a big believer that once you cross the white line or you're in that team environment, team is paramount.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that's a true sign of maturity is to be able to put differences aside and go, I've still got your back out there because we're still striving for a common goal, and we'll deal with the other stuff later. Yeah. And that's, I think, a really important aspect of sport and team, and that can be converted to into the workforce as well. And the other thing is but through that you've got to understand people's motivations for being there, and that's what builds relationships. So people are there for a lot of different reasons. Like I came to Virginia for money.
Yep.
I had an opportunity to go to another.
And I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to a couple of other clubs, but Virginia's offer was better. It was closer. They were a good team in the sense where the success was on the line, potentially on the line.
It was
but that was my motivator. But I also understood, and my dad taught me from a young age, if you're going to take money from someone, then you treat it as a job, and you do the right thing. And I did do all the right things.
Yeah.
I had a clash with one of our teammates early on in about round 4 or 5, and he was a bit bitter towards me and at times, and I was like, I confronted him, I said, what's going on? And he goes, you get paid all this money, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he's like, yeah, it's a bit unfair. And I said, yeah, okay, it is a bit unfair. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
And I said, what are you doing on a Sunday morning after footy? Oh, I spend time with the family and do whatever.
Probably recovering from a hangover as well.
And I said, that's good. I said, I'm down the beach, basically 90% of the time, or I'm up early stretching, going for a walk and thinking, right, I need to get my body ready for the next week.
Yeah.
So what are you doing on a Monday night and your night off? Oh, no, nothing. Oh, I'm at the gym. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you doing before training on Tuesday and Thursdays? Oh, I go to the gym, do that, cool, so am I, and then I come to training. I said, you usually missed a couple of training sessions. Yeah, so I don't. I'm committed to this.
Yeah.
I said, Friday night, are you just relaxing? Or you are going through routine? Yeah, that's right. Saturday morning, what are you doing? No, nothing, just spend time with the family. That's great. I said, I'm up early doing movement prep, thinking, okay, who are we playing? What's the ground like? I'm like, cool, all right, I just need to be aware that the wind's going to be this way. So
bit of preparation.
A bit of just playing from mind without obsessing. 3/4 time with a game and we're down. Are the supporters yelling at you? Are they telling you, we pay you all this money, you better perform?
That's right.
No, they're not saying it to you, they're saying it to me. I said, but that reward is an accumulation of the last 20 years of my life and the commitment I'd shown. You don't just get paid for the moment.
No, you don't.
I'm still human, but I've earned this money. I said, but the thing is, I'm the first to buy someone a beer when they come back in the club, and I make sure that.
You are.
And that's the relationship side. And to his credit, nodded his head, we shook our hands, had a big hug.
Yep.
Never had an issue, and we were great mates since. And again, open discussion, stay calm, validated his opinion because, again, because there is a lot of stigma around players coming to football clubs and taking money and running.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but at the same time, you need those players because
Absolutely.
if you want to have success, unfortunately, this day and age, you can't just rely on the locals.
Yep. And that's what footy has become. And we're talking at even the higher up levels that we'll talk about in a minute. But even now towards grassroots levels as well. There's a lot of money, a lot of cash injections here at footy clubs, and everyone just wants success.
Yep.
And unfortunately, every season there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, there's going to be a wooden spooner. So that's just where you fall in the pecking order. Doesn't necessarily define you or a club.
No.
But then there's people out there that just look at the end goal. They just, if we're not winning, we're losing.
Yeah.
But then it's not all about that, as you said before. Relationships, having fun, that's really important. But also, at the same time, to some people, it is a job. You look at AFL, that is their occupation,
Exactly
right? They're professional athletes, professional football players. Where they're at the lower levels, you treat it as a job. But rightly so, because all that extra work you did behind closed doors that no one actually thought about, no one considered, no one recognised, right, made you that better player.
Yeah.
Contributed to the team tenfold.
Well, there's an old saying, it's what you do in the shadow shines out in the light.
100%.
And it's something I always was like, I've just got to do it. Because I knew that hard work would accumulate to. Like just the other day, obviously Olympics are going on at the moment.
Yep.
Something like Usain Bolt, he's only run a total of 2 minutes and 31 seconds in his 15-year career.
Wow.
Which is...
That's crazy.
It's crazy for his Olympic career. And you sit there going for 15 years of work. But it's been a 24/7 job for him for that time.
I know.
And that's that's what happened. So in the end, it was
a 10-second race at the Olympics.
Oh,
how much work goes into that? 4 years worth of work, basically.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
It is. It's absolutely crazy.
And it's funny how that 10 seconds can define you as well.
Yeah.
So whether you get lucky one day, or whether the favourite slips up and you're always going to come second, but then you end up coming first. That defines you. Everyone remembers the winner, not the loser.
That's exactly right. So, but no, that whole thing with teams and mercenaries and going out and getting paid, like it still needs to happen. It's just that I was just big on. I was team success first and foremost because I won a couple of flags, and I was like, I'm a flag collector. I don't care about individual awards. Yeah. They're nice to get. Don't get me wrong.
That's definitely your Instagram handle. At the flag collector.
At the flag collector.
That's a good one.
It's good. Yeah.
And you've collected a few.
Yeah.
13 grand finals, 7 flags.
Yeah.
So you've got 7.
Yeah, I've got 7. I'm
done.
Greater than 50% now. That's done. I'm done.
Lucky number 7.
But it is. But the whole thing with that is honestly, it's how do you put it? You treat it like a job.
Yeah.
But like I said, you just focus on the end goal. I was big on bringing my teammates into the game as well. And I didn't need to be the best because there was an element of me at that level. I knew that I was probably better than my opponent I was on.
Yep.
And that's not being arrogant. I've done the work. I'm confident in my ability.
And that's half the game.
Yeah, but then how do I get the bloke next to me better? Yeah. How do I get the guy behind me better? How do I get the guy in front of me better? And that was my focus because I'd done so much, it became autonomous of how I played that I didn't necessarily, that was all natural. So then it was like, right, okay, I need to bring Pete Milo into the game on the forward flank.
Yep.
I need to block for him. I need to show that I care for him.
Yeah.
And I did, and he had a fantastic year. I wanted to kick more goals.
Yeah.
But we had, Brendan Nichols up there, kicking 140 that year.
Yeah.
I stayed out of the forward line. Do you know how hard I was? I'm a goal kicker. But I did what was right for their team.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the only one. Everyone did it. And that's in the end the greatest thing about it. It's got to focus on team success. I think the individual accolades, and they do. But it's
But even sometimes, you look at arguably one of the best players of all time in footy is Lee Matthews. Never won a Brownlow though.
Interesting.
So interesting. Everyone says he was probably the best player of all time. He's never won that pinnacle of an individual accolade, being the Brownlow medalist, which is the best and fairest. Whether he was the fairest at most of the time, who knows? But he never won one.
No.
You go. Sometimes they don't even define you.
And that's one winner.
Your peers will recognise you if you've done well.
That's one winner per year. Yeah, that's so hard to get.
Of course.
But again, there can only be one winner. That's just the way it is.
Yep. No, lovely. Anyway, touching base on footy. So you're an ex-AFL footballer.
Yeah.
Yep. So you obviously played at a couple of clubs.
Yep.
Just want to reflect on your time. Is that North? It was North Adelaide and also Norwood as well. So you spent a bit of time at both those clubs.
Yep.
Just reflecting a bit of an experience in regards to that.
Yeah, so basically I only played, disclaimer, 3 games of SANFL football.
Yep.
And it's not a lot, but that signifies the effort and reward for my effort.
Yes.
Because it's hard to play league footy in the SANFL. Comes a lot easier for a lot of other people, but a lot of people are battlers. And it wasn't that I was a battler, but I had to change the way I played on a number of ways, a number of ages to go, how do I fit in?
Yeah.
Now, I started Norwood when I was 15. I was playing reserves footy by the age of 16, 17. Had a few injuries,
yep.
and lucky enough to play in the grand final in the under-19s. Unfortunately, lost that. Played in the grand final in the reserves as well. I was fortunate enough to have a guy called Brett Hand coaching in the under-19s as an assistant, then as a senior coach, then as a senior coach in the reserves for 2 seasons. And he coaches Glenelg now, and he was a bit of a mentor of mine and really cared and loved about that and showed genuine love for me. I played 76 reserves games for Norwood, and I got a bit disheartened by it because I was such a loyal guy, and I thought, no, if I do the right thing, I'll get rewarded.
Yep.
I didn't
get that game.
I didn't get that league game there, and I bled red and blue.
Yep.
You know, I grew up supporting them, and Dad did as well. And I was like, I want to play for this footy club. That's when I started to question, you know, you don't always get the reward.
Yeah.
And that's
it sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sucks. So I took it. I took a step back. And
was there politics involved?
Look, I'll say there was.
Yep.
There was definitely an element of some people got picked ahead of others. Now, at that stage, our league team was bottom, and our reserves team was top.
Wow.
And there's not a lot of guys who get to go in the league.
Yep.
That wouldn't happen these days.
No.
It's a bit different.
It's profound if it happened these days.
Yeah, but a lot of people played on name and reputation, and that was hard because I hadn't been on an AFL list. I was just a local, and
love the club.
Loved the club.
Putting in all the effort.
When you talk about playing and bleeding for the club and for the jumper, I did.
Yeah.
Like I was.
And you would have appreciated that call up, whereas all those other players that probably come from different, walks of life, just got other states, even just got recruited from the country, wherever they came from, they'd be like, oh, I'm just happy to be in this AFL club. Yeah. But it wasn't necessarily, they didn't care which one it was, whereas you cared. You supported Norwood. Yeah. Your dream would have been to play a league game for Norwood.
It was, and that was, because I had to readjust my dream when I didn't get drafted. And I came to terms with not being good enough. My 2 best mates at the time got drafted, which was, I was over the moon for them.
Of course.
But it was just sad.
You'd be envious.
Yeah, there was a little bit of envy, and that was a bit of a whack to the ego. But I also understood that, it's hard to get drafted, and that's the way it was. So I reassessed my dreams and my goals. Still, SANFL is still a lot of credit. There's a lot of weight on that. So I readjusted. I want to play 100 games of league footy, and I just worked hard at that. And unfortunately, I didn't. And I left Norwood after I went up for a season in Darwin and played for St Mary's up there. I followed Brett Hand up there. Unfortunately, broke my thumb and missed out on the premiership up there, but that was okay. Had a year off and went and played Div 1 at Tea Tree Gully, and I concentrated on probably some body deficiencies where I was always fit, but I needed to be bigger.
Yep.
So I did that, spent a lot of time in the gym. And probably had a little bit of body dysmorphia as well. I was always a bit of a skinny guy. And I just needed to feel like I needed to
run a gym junkie with just blows out.
And the body armour for me was also for my mind. It wasn't just for my body, like it was. Yeah, I needed to feel good within myself. And then I, after a good season at Tea Tree Gully, lost the preliminary final, unfortunately. I was lucky enough to win the best and fairest there. Made the state team, got best on the state team there as well, the under 23 amateurs. Through Roger James, he got me out to North Adelaide.
Right.
And I went and sat down with North, and they were keen to get me on board, and I did.
Beautiful.
Had Daniel Hilly as my first league coach. Yep. And debuted that year against South Adelaide. Against South. At Prospect Oval. And I remember the call. I was in TAFE doing my trade, and I had to go out of the room, take the call, and I had to walk down the hallway after he called me, and I hung up the phone and I screamed. I literally was, all the energy and all the dream was finally realised.
How good would that have been?
It was, it was. And that took 86 reserves games.
Yeah.
And
that's what you call a pretty long slog of an apprenticeship right there.
Yeah, it was. And I'm not like I've had a few other mates take a long time to get there as well, but I see young guys now going, oh, I'm not going to play. And how do you many seasons you played? Oh, I played 23 reserves games.
Mate,
it's okay, mate,
Yeah.
but there's true dedication. How much do you want it? And it's okay if you don't.
Oh,
If it's okay if you don't really want it.
Yeah.
I said, I had pull from my home club. I had people offering lots of money to come play country football, amateur football, and I said no to so much of it because I didn't have a short-term goal. I didn't want instant gratification. I understood at that age, which I know the definition of it now, is delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And I was like, mate, I needed to know to myself that I'd given my all. I ended up not playing another league. I played 3 games.
Yep.
Played against South Adelaide.
Were they all in a row?
Yeah.
Yep.
South Adelaide Centrals, and then fortunate enough to play the Queen's birthday game against Cornell.
Cool.
8,000 people there on
Beautiful.
Monday. Fantastic
Yep.
day, and got dropped. And then I didn't get back up there that year. Change of coach to Josh Franco, and Josh was a fantastic guy. He even though I only played 3 league games of footy, he noticed my leadership capabilities, and he rewarded me with a position in the leadership group that year, which rubbed a few guys up the wrong way because I was only a 3-game player, and I was like, but I wasn't afraid to stand up for what I believe is right and speak out. But I was just very vocal, and I got given the task of bringing energy to training. Yeah. And then that was great. And then unfortunately, I had some injuries roll in that next 2 years, and I didn't play another league game. I really wanted to play on Josh.
And he would have given you that go?
I think he would have. Yeah. Actually, I had a really good pre-season his first year, and he told me in the last trial game against Centrals, he goes, if you kick 7 goals, I'll play you round 1.
Right.
And I went, done. I kicked 6-6.
Oh, that equates to 42
I
points.
told him that, and he said, yeah, it's not 7. And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I told him, I asked him years later, I said, would you have played me? And he said, I had to have. Otherwise, my credibility was shot. Yeah. And I was like, I appreciated him saying that because I truly believe he would have.
Yeah.
That's that sort of tale. I missed one late in the fourth quarter, and I think I hit the post from the boundary, and I was a bit disappointed. So I had my chances. But then
you kick that 7, it would have pointed straight to the coach.
I probably would have. I probably would have walked off. I probably would have walked off the ground and just gone and tapped him on the shoulder and say, "Mate, I'm done. I've kicked my 7."
Yeah. Take me off.
Take me off. Yeah. But then I finished up, and when I finished up, I was happy and content. With my SANFL career. I left when I wanted to leave. I played 110 odd reserves games, and I was.
What's that work out to about 5 years worth?
Yeah, over 5 years. Yeah.
So you had a pretty good stint there at that level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I left with a smile on my face, and
you got to play that game, that league, that high level game. You played 3 of them.
And over the years afterwards, and even previous to that, I had guys at the amateur level and mates I grew up with still regretting not going down, still regretting not committing, still regretting going, why didn't I come down with you when you were harassing me to come down?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. I didn't have any regrets.
Yeah.
And in the end, what my life's been about is no regrets.
Absolutely.
And that there for me, I still look back and I smile, and it's like, done.
I really appreciate what you've done, and obviously all the obstacles that you've had to encounter, whether it's the politics or just through injury, but you still stuck at it, and you obviously had that goal in mind to at least play league level, and you did, and you satisfied it. How many times I've seen, and especially through my teams, you playing with footballers, whether they're your teammates or your opposition, absolute gun footballers, through one thing or another, through their journeys, they just don't get to those high levels where you think to yourself, this guy's going to make SANFL, no worries. This guy, he could potentially be playing AFL one day, whether they, get into the drugs, the alcohol, the party life, or, through family issues, or even through, health and mental issues. Like, nothing always goes according to plan, but I think it's through adversity. If you're really committed and dedicated to do something, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But not everyone has that strength.
No, you're right. And it wasn't smooth sailing for me. I sat there with self-doubt a lot. I had to deal with catching up with mates going, give it up. Just give it up.
Yeah.
And that chips away, It also reaffirms my goal and how strong it was. But I also had a point to prove, which, as I learned a few years later, was probably an unhealthy drive. I had a chip on my shoulder and a point to prove to others, and it wasn't necessarily for myself. Again, I learned that years later, and it's like, right, and I dealt with that. But the adversity stuff, injuries are tough. You know, it's a hard slog when you're injured. But again, if you have a strong enough goal in mind, and it's important to you, you manage to get through those times. And the hardest thing is as well, SANFL football is a selfish level of football. You've got to have a job, and then you've basically got to train. You're training as much, especially back then, we were training as much as AFL guys were, but we were jamming in after hours.
Yep.
I remember my first ever pre-season, I was 16 years old. Gary McIntosh was the coach at Norwood.
Right.
We had 8 sessions a week.
That's a lot.
I was living in Gummaraka, or Birdwood, and I would drive down on Monday, Wednesday and Thursday night, and we'd train from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. And it's all skill based.
Yep.
Tuesday, Thursday morning, 6 a.m. at the Uni Loop. That was before school.
How many Ks?
That was old school days. That was 45 minutes of fartlek around the golf course.
Oh, wow.
Probably 7 to 10. And a grind.
Yep.
And a grind.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, back down for structured weights, 5:30 to 6 or 6:30 to 7. So I've done, and then Saturday mornings with either weights or running back at the club.
This is pre-season.
This is pre-season.
Wow.
So I calculated, I did round trip that each week I was doing 900 Ks a week. And
that's crazy.
And then trying to do school.
Yep.
And that's that selfish aspect. Now when you're young, all I want to do is play footy.
And you got the energy to do so as well at that age.
I did.
Yeah.
You know, I did. But I remember sitting at the start of that season, before round 1, on a Thursday night, with a couple of the young boys had done it with me, and we looked at each other, we all took a deep breath, and I said, I'm cooked.
Yeah. It's tight.
I was tight, and we hadn't even
played.
We had 23 weeks to play yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, but again, you get through and you do it.
Yeah.
But then as you get older and you start to realise it is a selfish sport, and there also comes a time when you need to cut that and go, right, what's more important in my life? But it's a really, really tough level. You've got to be, and you've got to have great support around you.
Yep.
I was lucky. Only for the last year or two I had a partner. I didn't before that. So I was able to be selfish because it was only affecting me. But then when I used to take the car when I was 16, my mum didn't have a car.
Yeah.
So my poor mum, for 2 years,
sacrificing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
it's a footy is a team sport,
yeah.
but that, let alone just to get you there, just one player is a team effort for your family and for your friends.
Not to mention the cost of fuel.
Exactly.
That's 2 tanks of fuel almost every week.
Yep.
Which is just, I'm working getting paid $6.50 an hour at a cabinet maker's joint every now and then.
Yeah.
And like, that's coming from mum and dad.
Yeah,
Mum
exactly.
and dad weren't very well off. You know, they supported me and did that. And they're the things where what makes, again, sport great, you need to appreciate that type of stuff. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So obviously that's SANFL level.
Yep.
We've talked a bit about your club level.
Yep.
Now coaching. So you did, after we won the flag, and then the year after we obviously came runners up in the grand final, then you started off to New South Wales.
Yep.
What got you there? Was it a career change, or did you already have this coaching job lined up at the University of New South Wales at the Eastern Bulldogs?
Yeah, so in 2013, I moved to Sydney with my ex-wife.
Yep.
And I played in the NEFL over there for East Coast Eagles. Formed some great relationships over there, and that's where it started. I ended up coaching at the Sydney Swans Academy. Paul Roos was the head of the academy there, and had a good relationship with him, and another guy called Chris Smith, another fantastic human. And I went away, and we moved back a year later, and I always had that burning desire to go, I'd like to go back to Sydney.
Yep.
I decided I needed to change for some things that were going on in my life, and I wanted an adventure. Footy is a great conduit in Australia, friends, anywhere you go, if you're part of a footy club.
100%.
And I decided I wanted to change careers, and also then I thought I want to give footy a go. So I actually got in contact with the guys at the Swans, and I spoke to Chris Smith, and I said, mate, I'm thinking about coming back to Sydney. I'd love to get involved in footy somehow. What you got for me? And he said, I've got a club. It's quite a successful club in the past, but it's dog shit at the moment.
Yep.
And he goes, it's in the eastern suburbs. Your areas of Maroubra, Bondi, Coogee,
Beautiful.
Randwick,
Yeah.
Vaucluse, like these amazing areas, right? And I was like, cool. And he goes, I have a lot of kids involved in this club, in the academy that are involved in this club, and I need it to be good. I need it to be not necessarily winning, but it needs to have a good culture there, because I need my kids to be able to go back and play well.
Yep.
I'm done. Fast forward a couple months, signed a contract, became the coach of the UNSW Bulldogs.
Yep.
Through Stephen Dunkley, who was the president at the time. He just took on the job. Andrew Dunkley's brother. I moved to Sydney. A bit of a women of prayer.
Yep.
I left my job for 12 months leave and didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I went over there and I coached. Again, through the relationships I created over the previous years, had done the right thing by then. I walked into a club that was struggling.
Yeah.
Had won 5 or 6 games in 3 years.
Wow.
After winning the flag in 2012, famously Dane Rampy was drafted from that, and that's for the South Australian people. That's like getting drafted out of Div 1 amateurs.
That's pretty good.
It's someone that good. They're like, mate, and they're getting plucked out of the
straight away.
Yeah, and now Dane Rampy's an All-Australian, and all goes. I went there and there was something like 5 footballs at the club. Not enough cones. Everyone's an absolute rabble.
Yep.
But I don't know, there's something about it, I took it on myself, this was my chance to coach and actually put my flavour on something.
And did you enjoy it, finding it the way it was, dilapidated, and it was like a little project for you to fix? Did you enjoy that?
There's an element of challenge.
Yep.
I guess at that stage I backed my ability.
Yeah.
I backed my knowledge, but I had heaps of doubt as well. I was lucky that my best mate Darren Pfeiffer had coached previously in Queensland, and he gave me a bit of a guidance of some structure things and how to, use sort of Google Docs and stuff like that to keep everyone informed. It needs to be on a as time basis.
Yep.
And then it was all about plan, but don't plan too much.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I had to think about the drills to do, and I'm like, I don't know. And that was a challenge. So I really challenged my brain elasticity and my application of what I knew and then to apply. So I did that. And luckily enough, again, Chris Smith helped me out and sent a couple of country guys that had come moving down to the Swans Academy and sent them to our club. So we got some good quality players there. There was also some really good feeder club in East Juniors and fantastic unions in Sydney. They're really good. The only problem is everyone's busy in Sydney, so there's not a lot of help. Right. So I literally, I've never been, my ego's never been big enough to not be prepared to do anything.
Yeah.
So I literally would get training early. I'd be filling drink bottles up, pumping footies up. I was like, right, and I wanted to get the level of professionality up. So I would dub in the footballs as well. I'd bring in dubbing and sit there on nights off and soften the leather because I wanted guys to have the experience of what I had growing up.
Yeah, exactly.
And show that and lift the standard, but I needed to lift it. I asked the club, I said, right, I need 40 footies. Wow. Didn't have a lot of money, but they were like, I said, you're going to spend your money on anything, spend your money on footies. And he's like, I said, just trust me, Dunks, just trust me. And again,
40 Shermans?
30, got 30 Shermans. I was pretty happy with that.
That's a bit of money.
He tried to give me 10 or 15 so he could save the rest, but I managed to
$3 grand?
Yeah, probably be. I think you can get the seconds footies between $50 and $100.
Yep.
But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of outlay, but it's really important.
It's an investment.
Yeah, especially kids don't touch footies as much as they used to when they were younger. Like we were lived and breathed football.
Yep.
So I was like, right, I need to up these guys' touch from say 20 to 30 touches a training session, maybe 50 at tops, to 200.
Yeah.
To 250.
Yep.
So again, everyone had a footy, and I just said, boys, this is the standard. I said, you're going to enjoy it, but you need to commit early because we need a hard acceleration to get that standard up.
Yep.
It's easy to maintain once you're there.
Yeah, just get to that point.
Yeah, that's right. So managed to cotton on and get. I managed to use. I've got a good skill where I can adapt to different people, different ages, and I'm pretty good at picking up on people's personalities.
And prior to this point, you've been through various array of experiences, whether it's at Norwood or you went to the NT, even at Virginia. So you've dealt with a vast array of unique characters. Yep. So your ability to adapt, from my experience, has been quite well. Because even just our team in 15, 16, we had some real strange cats.
We did, didn't we?
Well, I'll probably put my hand up and say I'm probably one of them, but still, we had some, I was going to say some weird type of
different walks of life as well.
Exactly, and different nationalities.
100%.
But that's just, honestly, you learn, you grow, you adapt, and obviously you can translate that and you can pass on those life lessons to the kids that you're teaching. So
then the biggest thing was, my boys, the best thing about footy is memories. And I'm like, and again, that whole footy is a great conduit in life, and it can give you so many opportunities. If you move anywhere, you've always got mates. I said, that again, we're working towards a common goal.
Yep.
And we have to have standards. And we managed to do quite well, and I managed to embrace a lot of the young guys. We had some good talented kids coming through. And we ended up making the prelim final that year. We went from like 5 or 6 wins in 3 years to a prelim final. And I think myself and Stephen Dunkley were very surprised at how we were able to do that. But more than
you'd have been pretty impressed with that effort.
I was, but I was burnt out, so I couldn't enjoy it. I was also playing as well, so that was really tough. That player coaching is one probably that I don't recommend it.
Well, you're filling up your drink bottles. Yeah. You're doing all this extra work. You're coaching and you're playing. Yeah. By season's end, it's sometimes hard to reflect on actually the achievement that you've made when you're so bloody burnt out and tired.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And there was little things about responsibility. So I numbered every football. I numbered it all from 1 to 30, and I said, right, at the end of every training session, we do a count. So it's the bin, open the bin, right, 1, 2, 3, and we throw them all in. Because again, where's all the footies? Maintain responsibility, because a lot of guys just kick the footies and walk off. Had to start, but that's not. Again, they just hadn't been exposed to higher levels, of high standards. And that created a great culture, a bit of fun, and that after training, and a bit of a tradition. And then I was fortunate enough the next year that my best mate Darren Pfeiffer needed a bit of a change from Melbourne, and I managed to coax him up to Sydney. Again, Darren was at 3 AFL clubs. He was a round 1 draft pick to the Adelaide Crows, but he's one of the best footy heads I know. And he came up.
Ex-Port legend as well.
Ex-Port legend. Yeah. He did when he played 19 games like before.
Nonetheless, he was there during the tough years.
Yeah.
And regardless of whoever player that was there at that time, boy, the club was dealing with some massive off-field issues. Yeah. And he stuck by him. And I'm a mad Port supporter. Yeah, of course, they're the dark days as we refer to them right now. But I still appreciate some of the characters, some of the players that were around them. And obviously he's one of them, and he's one of your mates.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we were lucky to get him up, and that was great because I knew where my weaknesses lied, and I wasn't a great midfield coach. I didn't understand the midfield very well because I was bookends. I played either end. So forward or back. So Darren was a great understanding, had a great understanding of midfield. Bang, that's sorted. Another one, Jesse H happened to come to Sydney. Michael H's son, a good mate of mine, and I managed to coax him. He was going to go to East Coast Eagles through another mutual mate that we had. And then a mutual mate that we had, Jamie Vlatko, who played at Nord, had 70 odd games at Nord. And I managed to get him to come to UNSW, and that was fantastic because you had 2 footy heads that I trusted. And again, level of professionality, understood what again, we've had that common goal. We all wanted a flag, and it was like, great. And then off we went, and in 2018, we managed to win the flag by 3 points, down by 27 points during the 3rd quarter.
Wow.
It was 35 degrees at Blacktown Oval. It was sweltering out of nowhere. It was 20 degrees either side, and then 35 degrees that day. I remember having the boys wrestle before the game because I said we're just going to embrace this heat. And it's probably a reason we started pretty slow. And we beat our big arch rival, Sydney Uni.
Wow.
And then Jesse H managed to kick 2 amazing goals in the last quarter, and we won. And it took me a good 3 years to reflect on that with joy. Because it was so stressful. And it was because I had high expectations. I wanted these guys to have what I had, which was memories, which was the 10-year reunion I knew was coming up in the future. Again, grand final teams don't stay in contact necessarily, but premiership teams do.
That's right.
And I was like, this is your chance, boys. And I told them from the start, I'll put you in positions. I'll give you these opportunities. And the boys, to their credit, I couldn't have been more proud of them.
Were there a few heartbreak stories throughout that year in regards to injuries, or there was a few players on the fringe at the side?
I think we lost 3 of our first 4 games, and we lost our big recruit round 1, broke his thumb. Who'd come from played a whole of the games in the NEFL for Sydney Uni and came down. Matthew Rawlinson. So that was a bit heartbreaking. But besides that, it's the other thing about Sydney is when it rains, they close the grounds. So we didn't have a home ground. We would play at Henson, which was not our home ground. It was a neutral zone. So we were the only club without that. So that was a big hurdle to overcome. So imagine not knowing, not having a home. But you train at the Village Green, or you train wherever you can. And when it
But
rains,
you can't play there.
no. And it's too small too, because all the grounds in Sydney are cricket grounds.
Yep.
There's not many purpose-built football grounds.
Mm.
Lucky enough, a bit of adversity came through and we managed to deal with it. And I had a pretty good finger on the pulse of players. And I knew sometimes a night off here and there, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Work comes first in Sydney. Some guys have worked
of course.
painful hours.
Yep.
So we missed a few. So that was hard to deal with. But besides heartbreak, no, like it all went pretty smoothly in the end. It was more just of managing players, because the other thing was we had a lot of Swans Academy kids. And the problem with Swans Academy kids is they would be playing, one week they might get selected for the Swans reserves. See you later. That might happen Saturday morning. Okay, good. We had 70-something players play for our team over a 2-year period. 78 players, the 2 years I coached, which is...
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Very transient. Guys come for a year, go leave again. And then the other thing was guys would play state and disappear.
That's basically 3 squads.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then again, guys still playing Meadfoot Sydney Uni would be up and down. And that was it was more about managing players and communications. And I was very big with the Swans Academy on communication. They were still learning that side of things.
Yeah.
And I lucky had a good relationship, but I had it out with Chris Smith a few times, and to his credit, he's the kind of guy that can take feedback on. He won't take a step back, but he'll take it on, and we opened a good line of communication. The other thing was I created a really good relationship with GWS through Brett Hand, who was head of player welfare there, and I gave a lot of players opportunities to play and top up at GWS. And I, at times, at times, I couldn't afford to lose that player, but I knew what it meant to them.
Of course.
And I knew the experience they would gather from that 1 week, and they'd bring it back.
Yeah.
And then also know that was a relationship and trust that I said, 1, I trusted the next bloke up to come up from the reserves.
Yes.
And 2, I trusted him enough to go, mate, you deserve this.
Isn't that a win-win though? You're actually looking after the player that's going up to GWS, right? You're rewarding him for his efforts, and he gets to play at a higher level. Then he can bring that back, right? When he does eventually come back. But then also you're giving faith to a reserves player to then say, no, I trust you and I really appreciate what you can bring, and then they can come up and they can get that experience. So then if they ever do go down, it just makes everything better, doesn't it?
It does, and that was the important thing. And that was another big thing new players to the team never start on the bench. Always start on the field. And I love that. And because you're a part of it.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a big mindset to that. And I wasn't one of the people that sat on the bench or had a coach on the bench going, just rotate every now and then. We had a rotation system. So when you played, you were in the system. You were in the forward line rotation, the midfield rotation, the wing rotation, the back line rotation. You were part of that. You just because you were young, you didn't spend 8 minutes on the bench compared to 4.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on a 4-minute rotation.
Yeah.
That's it. And it really, guys felt a part of it, and that was the feedback I got. So
how much it's changed to what it used to be.
Crazy.
I've played under Greg Phillips.
Yep.
Played under him. I think I played 7-8 games under him. So old school. Basically, when you're on the bench, it was like soccer. You're being substituted off.
And you're a soccer man as well. You're like,
I love soccer, but it's like, when you're on the bench with him, it's like you can't go back on. Even though you could. You just treat it like soccer. I remember there were games, I reckon there's a couple of games I played a quarter. It's like, how can I prove to you what I'm really made of, or what else I can do to benefit this side with 1 quarter? And say we're playing a really tough opposition, it's not coming down to the forward lines too much, because the old traditional thing was if you ever get brought up to the A's, you just get chuck you in the forward pocket, get a couple of touches, maybe kick a goal.
Yeah.
But am I a forward pocket player? Yes, no, maybe, but I'm just saying from my experience, I love playing in the forward lines, whether I've played there my whole career or not, I haven't. But how much can you do with 1 quarter, with 20 minutes?
Right. Exactly right.
And I'm not even the focal point either. I'm just that guy in the pocket. Yeah, just clean up a few crumbs, see what happens. Yeah.
So
how can I get a 20-minute audition when you've got 80 minutes of game time?
So in the end, what you are, you're just filling. And you feel like you're filling.
It's all right.
And that for me was like, because again, maybe that came from me playing so much reserves football, and I didn't like that mentality because I wanted to just feel part of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I'm going to make everyone. You drive it from the up. You don't drive it from down.
That's right.
So you embrace the young, like the guys coming through, and exactly right. You've got that feeling of, like I said, just being a part player. It's not sustainable. But then come times when you need those guys, and we did. We needed those guys throughout the year, and we won a lot of the games where we were undermanned.
Yep.
But it was so funny. Some of the guys that came up, they knew that they were probably the next out when guys came back.
Of course.
But in saying that, I didn't always drop them. I would drop other blokes. And it became...
But that was a relish that experience.
They 100% did.
And they appreciated the opportunity. Whereas they got times when those couple of games, like I'd say middle of the 3rd quarter, even start of the fourth, I'm thinking, what can I get to stay warm? I'm freezing cold, middle of winter. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm not probably going back on.
Yeah.
Do I get a robe? I was thinking about those things rather than actual game.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
And
it also gives you a bit of a bitter taste. So when you do go down, and you know your form's good in the reserves because you've taken that experience training with the A's and that sort of stuff, you bring it down. It does make you a better player.
Yeah.
But then when you do get that opportunity again, you like sort of dread it. You're like, oh, do I really want to go there and just play 20 minutes when I can play a full game?
So what you do is you go away from that team.
Yeah.
And you go into the intrinsic individual.
You do.
And
what's better for me?
That's natural because again you're not being embraced. And that's why coach is so important. Coach doesn't have to be great tactically.
Yep.
Coaches have to be great at building relationships and making people feel welcome.
I was gonna say you're gonna be a people's person.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And some people get too caught up in winning. So winning for me, the stress didn't come from winning for me in Sydney. The stress came from just being organised and probably a little bit of expectation that came on board because I was happy with losing.
Yep.
No one's happy, but I was because I was like, mate, there's only one winner. And guess what? The sun rises the next day.
Yep. A coach's job isn't evident from wins and losses, or wins and losses, but a lot of people look to that.
Yeah.
Everyone just looks at the facts and figures. But I actually think the true definition of a good coach, whether it's at country level or at higher up level, is that win, lose or draw the result of the game day. If you wait half an hour to an hour after the game's finished and every single player's still in that change rooms, whether they're having a beer or they're just having a laugh, having fun, regardless of the result, that's a sign of a good coach.
Yeah.
If you can get a bunch of guys, a bunch of blokes together, all on the same page, get that camaraderie, get the morale, that's the sign of a good coach.
So one of the best things we ever did, and it was my first year of teaching Gully, was everyone had a rotation system where Terry, it's your turn this week. You've got to bring a carton now.
Yep.
Now the drinking mentality among footy clubs, I've been a bit of I've criticised it a lot over the last few years and understood that it probably gave me some bad habits with binge drinking, which I don't do anymore, but I did. And understanding what good culture was, and you don't actually have to have alcohol involved.
No, you don't.
But 24 cartons in a stack, and you've got 21, 22. You've got 21, 22 players and a couple of coaches.
Yep.
But it keeps everyone in there for years. So, and that became fun because guys could get random drinks and rock in with cruises, for a bit of fun, and they're like, they like them. And I was like, I have a bit of a laugh. And then some guys are bringing stout just because they want to sit there and watch people squirm. But it created such a good culture where people want to stay in there afterwards, and it's just 20 minutes, half an hour in there. And that there is the greatest time after a football game. It's once you finish, because that week's goal is done. The win or loss, you went out there, you busted your balls, now you go in there and you have a relaxing bit.
That's right. You have your debrief. 5-10 minutes. I think that you've got to keep that pretty short and sharp, regardless of the result. You tackle that next week.
100%.
All right, let's just have a little debrief. After that, guys, get changed, enjoy, have a shower, have a drink. Don't need to have a drink, but just chill out. Lock the doors, stay in here for half an hour, 45. Don't go anywhere. You've booked out Saturdays. Like if you're going to commit to footy for a year, whether you're paid or not, Saturday's always booked out.
Exactly.
The season. And how long does the season go at a country level? 16 games. That's 16 Saturdays. Big deal. All right, you play at a higher up level. Well, at the higher up level, you're getting paid to do it anyway. So regardless, you book out that Saturday, hang around your mates, and they should be your mates. It shouldn't just be a colleague. It should be really more of a mate and a friend. So love that part of footy, but also can be quite toxic as well.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes quite self-aware. And again, I definitely like a beer, but it's over the years I've realised some of the patterns it's caused me and damage it's caused me over the years mentally. But it's all learning. We all go through this. So, but no, that's great. Yeah, like I said, footy's, that's why I love footy and sport. So
also, for all the viewers that don't know, you've been a runner for an AFL club being the Sydney Swans. Now, just before talking about that experience, how did you get there? And just some experiences there at that higher up level. So obviously everything that we've talked about has been from AFL and below, but now you've been at the AFL level. You're in the inner sanctum. What was that experience like? But first, how did you get there?
So basically, again, it's on the back of relationships that I've built. But I didn't ever build relationships with the want to get anything. I just genuinely enjoy getting to know people and also them getting to know me. It was great. So what happened is I was in Sydney and I hadn't figured out what I wanted to do work-wise. I had a bit of time on my hands. And Josh Franco coached me at North Adelaide. So then Josh goes to me, hey, I called him and I said, mate, I'm in Sydney. I said, I'd love to come out and watch training, watch the Swans. I was just about to start coaching.
He was an assistant at the time, wasn't he?
He was an assistant. He was a midfield coach. Josh got Polly coming out. Great, come. So I went out and watched it. Josh came over, said hello. Stewie Dew was there, which I knew a little bit, and so Dewey came over, had a good chat. And then I called Josh up after, because I rocked up. 3 sessions I had in 2 weeks, I went to every single one.
Yeah.
And then I called Josh up and I was like, Josh, mate, do you reckon I could help out? Or it's okay if I can't, but if you need a hand, mate, I'm happy to do whatever. I said, again, this is that mindset where I'm like, my ego's not too big that I'm not afraid to do the dirty jobs.
Yeah.
And I said, mate, I'm happy to pick up cones. I'm happy to run water,
Dude,
whatever.
yeah,
I'd love to be out there and just be involved in it and just see how it gets up close and then start coaching. And he goes, oh.
I find that the same as well.
Yeah, and he goes, all right, Lee Wood calls me back. Yeah, mate, come in. I rock up the next Monday, 10 a.m. The apparel steward hands me a triple XL Swans training top.
Oh wow.
I've had a little bit of body dysmorphia in the past where I'm like, I like things to fit me because I was a skinny kid and do whatever. Next minute I'm wearing this large poncho, and I was like, right, I always felt like a little dress. And I was like, that's all right, suck it up, get on with it. I ended up literally picking up dirty jumpers. I ran cones out to coaches. I grabbed footies and just behind the goals and just fed footies to the guys when they needed it. And they loved it. And the coach said, mate, horse comes up. He said, mate, thanks for coming out. He goes, mate, come as much as you want.
Beautiful.
So I came Wednesday. Then I came Friday. And over the following weeks, I kept rocking up. I had the time. It wasn't the only thing I was doing. I was still studying and figuring some things out.
Yep.
But I prioritised that. 3 months later, or probably 2 months later, they were like, I became part of the woodwork. And I remember rocking up to training and John Blakey, Nick Blakey's old man, oh, you're with me in this drill. Well, I progressed to helping out in the drills now. And I was like, okay, yeah, no worries. And then, next minute, Julie's like, Paulie's helping me with this drill. I become a bit part of the woodwork. And it was nice, but at the same time, but at the same time, I knew my place. And I just was like, yeah, cool, I'm happy just to help out. What happened is they had a pre-season game and the runner got tackled by Callum Mills in the warm-up and popped his knee. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it or whatever. A week later, I get a call from a number I didn't know. It was Horse Longmire.
All right.
Yeah, so John Gay goes, Polly, it's Horse. I'm like, get a horse.
He referred to himself as Horse?
No, he didn't. It's John Longmire. I said, hey mate, how are you?
Yeah.
Still not really sure what this call is about, but I had a good relationship with everyone. He goes, mate, our runner's going down. He goes, we love your attitude, love your energy, your commitment. You're not like, again, you're humble and you're like, we like having you around. Like, would you be prepared to take on the runner's role this year? And I was like a bit silenced. And I was like, yeah, mate, I'd love that. Fucking oath. That'd be unbelievable.
Yep.
And I said, look, mate, I'm coaching and playing, so I'll see how the games line up. And he goes, all right, check that out, let me know. Happened to be that year that had a lot of Thursday night games, Friday night games.
All right.
Because they had a good successful year the year before. I ended up only 2 games clashed. So I said, Horse, I can do 18 games. And he's like, done. And next minute I'm flying with the team to Melbourne. Over in Perth, doing that game. I'm running on the MCG, running at the SCG. Adelaide Oval, I did the Adelaide Oval game where Buddy kicked goal of the year in 2017.
That's right.
That was phenomenal. And literally to the point where I would run out and I'd be yelling at someone from a metre away. It was that loud. They couldn't hear me. It was electric. And I got to be a part of that. I got to see how the inner sanctums of the club work. But more than anything, what it gave me and what the biggest thing I took away from it was that footy clubs don't change. So
whether it's at the highest level or at the lowest level, similar things happen.
So similar.
Yeah,
I'd put the AFL on a pedestal.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
They do. And that's something.
I'm actually enjoying this little insight that you're giving me that you had.
So I had so much doubt in my football ability as a coach because I was like, that next level.
Yeah.
And then I got in there and I was like, the players are more talented. They are. They're also taught in different ways, in so many different ways, so they're able to concept going a lot better. But they work cohesively as a team so much better because, again, they have touch time. They get to be out there with each other. There's 7 coaches out there. Like, you know, that's what makes it better. The fundamentals of football, like, Horse was still delivering the same messages that I got told when I was playing under 14 football.
Yep.
And I was like,
you're expecting
with obviously some nuance in there. What is it? And I realised then that, fuck, I can do this. I can actually, and it's at the level that I was at. I was like, I need to believe myself a little bit more.
Yep.
I did pick up on a lot of drills, and I picked up on a lot of terminology and modern ways of playing and a few things like that. But yeah, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Of what it gave me was that confidence in myself, but then the ability to be put into the inner sanctum of the football club, of the Bloods culture in Sydney, was very humbling. To be able to kick the ball with Buddy Franklin after training and sit there and just kick it out to him. I remember one game Tony Lockett rocked up. Yep. And I just plug it. Yeah. But I sort of...
A thin plugger as well.
It was a thin plugger. But I remember he was doing some goal kicking with Kurt Tipper and Buddy.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't help. He goes, all right, we're walking towards the goals. And Tony Lockett puts his arm around me. And his hands are bucket hands, massive hands.
Yeah.
How are you, young fella?
Yeah.
It took me a moment to realise that Tony Lockett, the greatest goal kicker ever, is just got his arm around me having a chat.
Calling me young fella.
You calling me young fella? And I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know? And I was still very humble. I made sure I knew my place. So I didn't step out of turn. I did whatever. I was like just very professional and end up him teaching those boys how to kick.
Yep.
Well, not teach how to kick, but do a bit of goal kicking with them. So I've got Buddy Franklin, who's almost probably going to kick his 1000th this year or next year. We've got a guy who's kicked 1300, and Kurt's there as well, who I knew a bit from Adelaide, which was good. And next minute we're doing it, the boys jump off, and Plugger goes to me, he goes, mate, he goes, do you want to kick a couple of goals? I was like, oh yeah, all right.
Yeah, why not?
So I went out and kicked the cuff from 30, 40 out, and then kicked it back out to me. So
perfect.
That there was, it's a pinch yourself moment.
Is this at the G?
No, this is the SCG. Oh, it's at the SCG.
Yeah.
It wasn't the SCG.
Yep.
So that was a bit of a pinch yourself moment. And I look back going, it's a big privilege. And I don't take that for granted.
No.
But at the same time, it's, I live by some certain traits, which was don't be afraid to ask, be humble, don't be afraid to do the dirty jobs. And it led to
look where you got to.
It led to this opportunity, as well as maintain relationships.
Yep.
But the biggest
and be transparent too. Like you told Horse only 18 games, and you stuck by that, but he still gave you the job.
Exactly right. Yeah. So that was fantastic, mate. I only did it for a year. The boys lost the first 6 or 7 games that year, which was miserable to be around the club. They went on to make the finals.
Yep.
And that last third of the year was fantastic. Some of the games I was involved with, beating Essendon after kick after siren, get Rowan taking the run in the square. Like I was the one that ran out there and bolted out there as fast as I could, and my body was cramped, but I think I did 16 Ks that game.
Wow.
I ran out, I was screaming at Gary Rowan, get forward, go, and I couldn't, I ran out, I got him out there, and he got there just as the ball got kicked, he marked it. So you sit there going, I had an influence on that. I didn't do it, but I had an influence, and you start to go, like, they're the nuances of a footy club, which are so important for the collective. If I just jogged out there, took it easy, or
he might have been there.
Yeah, it might have, and that's the great thing. So, no one really knows that I had in my mind, I had a hand. I did, and it was great to be involved in those moments. So there's some really important times.
What were some of the messages that you're getting from the coaches towards like what you have to instruct the players? Were they pretty basic, or were some of them really technical? And also, were the coaches like? How were they, I guess, conveying that message to you? Were they yelling at you, but not directly at you? But it was obviously because they're frustrated with what's happening on the ground. Like, what was that communication like from the coach's box?
So they had a lot of trust in the players, and so if I had to go out and deliver a message, say the F1, which is a forward upper stoppage.
Yep.
I don't have to go tell 2 or 3 players, and it will get around real quick. There was a lot of trust in the players to communicate, and that level, there's such a drive and leadership.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. There's nothing really complicated. Every now and then you have a 3 or 4 man swap, and that would you'd have to remember 4 names, who's going to where.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just a rotation thing in your mind, but sometimes one of those guys would be getting flipped, so you'd have to go, and then you go, who goes first?
Yeah.
Because if you pull someone away from the defence first,
we're undermanned there.
Yeah. Where's the ball situated? So you have to sort of think through that. But yeah, that was great. Like, that was one of the some of the messages. Besides that, a lot of it was pretty basic. A lot of it's just reminding guys, take your time, relax. You know, every now and then, Buddy would, you know, not just Buddy, but guys would be like, because they play the game, they know what they're doing. You know,
they don't need to be coached.
No, not seriously. So they'd be like, you need to get Buddy up the ground. Okay, I'll go out and tell Buddy. And he'd nod, yeah, but he'd still be pulling back a bit. Now he has a good sense of the game as well. And I'd go tell him, have you told me? I've told him. Next minute, I'd get the phone. I never used to get Horse on the phone unless it was really serious.
Okay.
And he'd go, Polly, from Horse, tell Buddy he needs to get up the ground.
Yeah.
No worries, Horse, run out there. From Horse, you need to get up the ground.
Yeah.
Buddy would just trot up the ground.
Yeah.
It's not that he was defining his orders, he also has a great sense of the game.
Of course.
So he was like, you know, I think I'm in a pretty good position, but again, coach was seeing something that he did positionally, and he did do it. Like, there was never any issues. There was never any people going, I don't do this or that.
Do you even copy like feedback?
Yeah, sometimes.
Some negative ones?
Sometimes.
So like, oh, you tell Horse, go and get started.
Nah, nothing like that. There was more people like, why am I coming off again? I come off all the time, and it's...
So even at that level, they get those frustrations too.
They go, me again.
Go on the bench again.
Yeah, I'm like, I used to start to tell them, don't shoot the messenger. I said, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
Like, one of them was Georgie Hewitt. Now, Georgie Hewitt's a North Adelaide boy, and I didn't play with him there, but I actually coach his brother there now. But Georgie used to get very frustrated, and I was like, mate, I'm sorry. Like I said, it's just the way it is, mate. Like, but again, he wants to be out there playing, you know, and I get it. So, but again, I never undermined any message. I just went out to deliver. At that stage, I didn't have. My confidence wasn't huge because I knew my spot. I hadn't played at this level or do whatever, so I was trying to just not cause any waves. Now I'm sure someone like a Chad Corns who's out is completely different.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it's very different. But then, but that was probably all the messages. They weren't too exciting, but yeah, it was good. But you're definitely involved in moments. You know,
that's cool. And obviously you had one of the good moments with Gary Rowan, but then also at Marvel Stadium, now it's called, you gave away a free kick.
Yeah.
Did you want to shed a bit of light on that one?
Yeah, I did. So it was funny because I think it was round 7 maybe, I think it was against St Kilda. I'm pretty sure it's second quarter. I've got the footage of it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I managed to find it.
Yeah. And I think it's on Facebook Memories and someone's posted it up and I've seen it a few months ago.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It was funny because leading up to that game, I reckon, especially in the first 4 rounds, the opposition runner gave away a free kick each game.
Right.
But a lot of it was him running off the ground as the ball got kicked over, and he was very ticky touch. And it's such a moment early on in the game. It doesn't actually really make a big deal or impact on it. Mine, unfortunately, didn't have an impact on the game, but I got caught in transition. The boys were running out of the back line. I was caught a bit ball watching. Probably thought I was a player for a second there, and I was like, I've got to deliver a message, and it was to Nathan Jones, and I hadn't quite. The contest had happened. I was about to yell it. The ball got moved across and then doubled back the other way. I look up. The ball was there running at me. I piss bolted. The ball's missed me like my arse by about probably half a metre. And I've run out of there. Umpire's free kick against.
Right.
The boys are giving me a bit of stick. Fucking hell, Bob, get off. Get
off.
I was like, by the way, as quick as that happened, I turned around, we got the ball back. So nothing really happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was wearing fluoro boots, yellow boots with my fluoro pink top. So, and that was the Guernsey. That was the shoes I got given. So it wasn't like I had any choice in that. But I got off, and the guys on the bench didn't even notice it, you know. But it was a bit of a funny thing. But then at that week, I remember John Longmire, he came up to me and he goes, "Pop," he called me over. I said, "Polly, come over here." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Hey, Horse." "Oh, hey, mate." I said, he's like, good. Those boots? I said, yeah, the fluoro ones. He's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, put them in the bin. And he goes, go back to the room. And go get a normal pair.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was just like,
wow.
I said, yeah,
yes, sir.
No, sir. I said, I'll go do a Horse. Went back into the rooms, got a nice pair of white Nikes, and came back out again. So, but that was a bit of the fun of the character of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't tell a lot of people I was the runner at the Swans at that stage. I was in a bit of a very keep my life to myself stage, and that sort of put it on there that got a bit of traction, because when they started talking about runners getting in the way, they happened to want to replay mine all the time. So that was a lot of fun, mate. But there's just a bit of a story for the year. And,
yeah, exactly.
I'm one of those lucky people who I've never played an AFL game, but I've got an AFL statistic, so I have a free game.
Yeah,
so
that's minus 3 points.
Minus 3 points, that's it. So fantasy's not looking great for me.
But obviously, being around those high-profile players, like we're talking Buddy, Josh Kennedy, all these superstars of the game that are still playing, how hard is it to get all these personalities on the same page? Now, obviously, you've got a lot of introverts as well as those extroverts, but how do you get them all on the same page, and how do people deal with things differently? Like, how does it work at AFL level? And I know you said that it's very similar to the lower levels, but at that high level, it's their full-time job.
Yeah.
So, did you see anything different that you could pull away from that? Not just from a footy sense, but from a life sense as well?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I was really only there during the week at the main session, and then the short session, more captain's run before the game. So I wasn't there and the meeting as well. So I wasn't there a lot for the interactions from day to day. But so I can't really, and I didn't have much influence on it. I kept very to myself and just did the right thing and didn't want to, I didn't want to tread on toes, and I knew my place, so I kept very quiet. But besides that, more than anything, it was just the Swans had a great culture. There was no dickheads. There was no real arrogance. Most of the guys were pretty good, even to me. Like, again, I didn't say a lot to. I talked to a lot of them. Like I'd be in the shower. Like, Buddy was the first in the shower a lot of the time, and I was in there. I was the first, and he was in the second. Quick chat. Hello, what's going on? Had a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Like, my ex-wife knew this, current wife Jacinta, and that was, that's it.
Yeah, shoot the breeze like that.
Shoot the breeze, Guys like Dan Hanbury, fantastic, great guy. Parks, again, just nice guys. But again, that's probably why there probably wasn't a lot of issues at that level, because again, the guys at the top were pretty driven, and they were team orientated. And I didn't see this. I'm sure there would have been issues. Some of the young guys coming through, I was a little bit. I won't name names, but you could see they had the attitude. They're 18, 19, 20, 21, and thought the shit don't stink.
Yep.
And
until they start playing with men, and then it's a bit of a reality check.
But I noticed the way they treated, say, me.
Okay.
Or the way they engaged with me was, I was just a shit kicker to them. Looking back, I wish I pulled one or two of them up on it, and I would have been okay if the club sacked me over it, because it would have been none.
But how important it is to educate these kids that you are just an essential cog in the machine, just as much as they are.
Now they're learning to deal with their ego, and they're learning to deal with responsibility and notoriety. Yep. It's a hard thing to deal with. So I cut them a bit of slack. It's just looking back now that I'm big on honest feedback, and at that time, and some of the things it's not that I put up with anything, just the way, examples, kicking the balls and the blokes, and they just, I'd be kicking them, thank you afterwards.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, mate, I'm staying here, back kicking the ball, and it's fine, all right? Or they kick balls and they just walk off and leave them all at the back.
How hard is it
for someone else to collect? And I'd be like, mate, just come over and grab 3 or 4 footies.
Yeah.
Or walk past them in the hallway, and I'm like, yeah, mate, and it'd just be a nod. And it's like, okay, I've known you long enough now that I know your personality's not quiet. That there is. I know you might have stuff going on, that's fine.
And some of these players still at Sydney?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have some being delisted?
No, not the ones that I had any issues with.
Okay.
No. I don't want to say issues, mate. They weren't issues. They were just little moments, and that also comes from, you want to be accepted in that as well. I got pulled up when I was younger with that kind of stuff. But I was a player at the SNFL level, so I'm sure they were getting pulled up with some things. But it's all listening and learning. So, but that was okay.
How hard is it to say thank you though? And that's the thing. Whatever's going on behind the scenes, don't bring it to footy. Sometimes is an escape, especially it's like part of the Australian culture. Whether it's just a beer after work or footy on a Saturday, it's part of our culture. It's an escape. Yeah. So whatever's going on in your life, this is an opportunity now for you to put that behind you and just focus on the goal at hand, the task at hand, and have a bit of fun.
And that's true, but when you get to that next level, it's a job. And this is when we started losing, especially the first 6 or 7 games, like, people's jobs are on the line. And that means their livelihood's on the line. And that's when I started to notice the shift in energy. Yeah. And I didn't like it. All of a sudden, you know, people weren't happy to be at the club. Well, they were happy to be there, but they were like, the pressure's on.
Yeah.
And this is what turned me away.
Confidence starts dropping.
Yeah, and this is what turned me away from wanting to actually really ever be a part of it. Because, like, again, when you're at that level, it is cutthroat.
Yep.
You're losing, right? If Force gets sacked here, everyone's getting sacked here potentially, you know? So it's like, and not saying that's going to happen, but it's the tension rises, and then it's like the season could be done, so all that hard work you put in could be done by around 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And it's like, then what are you playing for? Are you playing just to develop blokes and do whatever? But these guys, and especially Sydney's got a winning culture, and there was expectations of that year, you know. And they got guys like, again, Josh Franco, Stewie Drew, they're winners. You know, Horse Long, they're premiership winners. Yeah. They're not there to win games. You know, games are important and part of the process of them winning a flag. So yeah, and that was a big part of it as well. So yeah,
massive. You know, we've covered a lot about footy.
Yeah, we have, haven't we?
Now, I just want to go back to 2021.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you as a person. Stephen Pollock, you have a bit of it?
Douglas.
Yeah,
I think I'm 4th generation Douglas.
Stephen Douglas Pollock. So, all right, you've obviously had a vast experience in footy, and you're currently a North Adelaide assistant coach right now.
Yep.
So we can talk about that another time.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, the way it's gone with time, it definitely needs to be
How long
part
have you
two.
gone for now, mate?
I reckon we've been on for over an hour. So,
wow.
I would say definitely a part 2.
Yep.
But right now, hobbies and interests. I've obviously touched base with your social media a fair bit.
Yep.
Obviously, we follow each other on Instagram.
Yep.
I see that you're writing daily tasks, lists, and I've even looked at some of your lists, and you've got things there where you start to, I guess, you know, and I think I'm encouraging this with a lot of people as well. You got to start being a little bit more selfish in life, and I've noticed and it's not a bad thing either, because if you don't worry about number one, who actually does? You know, and I think I'm actually taking a leaf out of your book. I appreciate what you're doing, these little daily tasks, these plannings, all this sort of stuff that you do.
Yeah.
You're really worrying and focusing on yourself.
Yep.
What was the motivation and drive behind this? And if you can just give me a bit of an insight as to what you actually do.
Yeah, so for me, it's growth.
Yep.
Like, I've got a big belief in personal growth and not being content with, you know, you've got to be happy with who you are, but don't be content with who you could potentially be.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big thing. And also, I've suffered a little bit from mental health over the years, more anxiety than anything.
Yep.
And I've always, and a lot of self-doubt has always crept into my mind. And I wanted, you always want the silver bullet cure. And I learned a long time ago there's no magic pill. And so I got into wellness, and it's something that's actually started a long time for me. I actually looked back not long ago and looked at when I started, say, mindfulness practice, which is meditation, and I was doing that back in 2013. And I don't know why. I think it was my mum who was big on the Buddhist way of living, and even though she wasn't, a Buddhist herself, she was like, she really would speak about, Buddhist this, the Buddhist that. Yeah. And it probably just planted a seed in my mind.
It resonated.
Yeah, it resonated. So I found myself in 2013 at 2013. Yeah, it was at T2 Gully when I was playing. I'd go out to the car and meditate. After the team meeting, I'd go out and spend 15-20 minutes meditating in the car.
What does it consist of? Just for those that don't know or have never meditated in their life, what do you define meditation for you?
Yeah, so for me, there was I was doing guided meditation at that stage, which was I just used an app, put it on, someone would talk you through it. There's so many different ways of doing meditation. There's no wrong way of doing meditation. No. Close your eyes, let your thought run. Concentrate on your breath. Yep. It's pretty much basic. A lot of people go, I don't know how to do it, or it doesn't work for me.
Or it's boring.
Yeah, you know why? It is boring sometimes, but the fact is it's because you're anxious, it creates anxiety, and it's a new thought process. No one wants to sit with their thoughts sometimes. No. And so what I do is guided meditation. A lot of it was going through your body and just touching base with your body, you know, where you're tight. Sometimes you wouldn't realise your jaw's like locked. You're like, holy crap, my jaw's like, I've got to relax my jaw, you know. And okay, there's a tension there. Cool, go down. I feel a bit of anxiety in my chest. I was like, okay, well, I didn't know that was there. I felt anxious, but I'm like, now I'm actually feeling it in that spot. And you go down and you feel through, and you go, right. So you're checking in with yourself. Then it came back to breathing and then letting your thoughts come and go. Because your mind's, you can't stop your thoughts. No. They come and go, but it's about not paying attention to them. And then again, concentrating on the breath, counting the breaths, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Keep going, in and out. And then eventually, after time, those thoughts, they come and go, but they don't register. They're just there. And other times you do it, I can't get thoughts out of my head, and it literally is a constant battle just to slowly and easily draw that thought back to the breath.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people tend to do it in times of crisis when things aren't going good. I think it's more important to do when things are going well.
Being proactive.
And being proactive, which is what I've started putting last few years.
And making it into a routine.
Yeah.
So whether you are going through a good patch or a bad patch, that's your one constant.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I do now is like, because it started back then, but it was more for performance.
Yep.
And then over the years, I've had times where I've had probably a year where I didn't meditate, and then I've had times where 6 months I haven't, meditated 85% of the days. I'm not rigid on myself every day. I'm at least 5 days a week. That's a good pass, because if you give yourself, I want to do it every day, you might beat yourself up when you miss a day. And
of course.
And there's a big element of that is like, it's meant to be enjoyable, and not enjoyable. It's meant to be sort of peaceful. So if you're bringing that
treat
negativity,
like a pastime as well.
If you bring that negativity, and if I miss it, I'm in trouble. I feel bad that I missed it. It takes away that fact. So now I get up every morning I bought a meditation chair. When I say meditation chair, I've got a chair in there, and I literally just get up in the morning. And at the moment, I'm not doing guided. I literally get up and I put a timer on my phone. I put a nice easy ringtone on there. I put 20 minutes on, and I sit there and I just breathe. And I sit down, I feel my breath, and I let my mind exhaust itself.
And
I let my mind just go roll.
You're blocking out the external noises.
Yeah.
And just actually having a chance to listen to yourself rather than listen to everything else.
Yeah, it's amazing after 10, 15 minutes, my mind's like, okay, I'm done running through everything. And then I might get 5 minutes of peace at the end.
Yeah.
I might get no peace. And that's okay as well. But as long as I do it, it makes me feel a lot better. So that's one of the big things I do now, the mindfulness. And then the other thing is journaling. I gratitude journal. Gratitude journal is, again, that's 5 to 6 days a week. If I miss a day, I don't beat myself up. But again, just 3 things every day I'm grateful for. And it's amazing when you run out of things pretty quick, when the obvious things, after a week you go, all the obvious stuff I've said, what now?
Yep.
And you've got to
actually, that is pretty tough.
Yeah, you've got to think about what.
And does it have to be original content every day? Or can you then be grateful for the same thing?
No, I've been grateful for the same thing over certain times because it's meant something for me at that time.
That's right.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
It's silly it sounds, people forget how the privilege of having running water. People forget the privilege of eating certain foods. Like sometimes it's a person I appreciate. Sometimes it's a moment.
Yeah.
I've said a lot of things lately, like to do with my ability to push through adversity, what I've been through.
Yep.
I didn't hate footy, but I said footy was a bit of a burden in my life. I now appreciate everything footy is. So footy went in there one day, and things can be like just the content that some people put on Instagram is fantastic.
Of course.
And that's
So is that a reflection of real life? Probably not.
No, but then some people probably but they're willing to put stuff out there. So it's great, So I go, that's awesome. So and I appreciate that. I'm grateful for it, and it's had a profound impact on my life. Other things I do, again, it's also body. So again, I'm cold glass water, some salt every morning.
Yep.
I take my vitamin D. I'm very big on my diet, but I'm an 80-20 rule type of guy. 80% of times I'm going to be eating good food that I've cooked. It doesn't have to be. It's not about good or bad food. A lot of times I've cooked it.
Yep.
I have choices when I'm out. Sometimes when I'm on call at work, it's unfortunate McDonald's is the only thing open, and that's the way it is.
What's the go-to at Macca's?
To be honest, mate, probably a Big Mac, something like that. Just something simple. Like I don't eat there enough, but I'll probably go to Hungry Jack's and get a bacon double cheeseburger.
That's all right. Yeah, beautiful. It's always interesting to see what people order at those fast food
that's
outlets.
right. But it's just about choices, and then I've noticed all of a sudden again, it's not about eating super clean and doing it. It's just about good food.
Yep.
And then
whole food,
home
cooked food. Not only is it great on the wallet, but it's good for your health.
Yeah, and the other thing is like a lot of people think when you do that, you have to eat something different all the time. I've changed that mindset. I'll cook big batches of stuff. I'll eat lasagna for 4 nights straight. And I go, you know what? That's okay. I'll have salad with it one night, and then the next I'll have some roasted veggies. I'm like, that's the difference.
So the side dish is changing.
Just chuck some stuff in it.
100%.
But in the end, that's okay because some people think I need to be eating different all the time. I need to be eating this array of food. You do, but it's the old saying, eat the rainbow, But that's a lot of the wellness stuff I've got on.
In regards to diet, have you a subscriber to any of these vegan, carnivore diets, keto, staying away from gluten? Have you ever dabbled in any of these? And have they worked, or what's your philosophy on all of it now?
Yeah, so Darren and I, when we lived together, back when I was playing at North Adelaide, he was at Port Power playing. We did no gluten for about 3 months, 4 months, and as much as I think the no gluten helped, I think it had more to do with less wheat.
Yeah.
You know, and more less breads and pastas, and so therefore we stripped down a bit of weight, felt better. So we weren't eating as many carbs. So but I lost 3 or 4 kilos. I didn't think I could lose.
Yeah.
And that also translated onto the ground where I felt a bit light. So it's this weird way. But that was great. I've tried vegan, but only for a short period of time. That's not really for me.
Yep.
I grew up on a farm, mate, where we send our animals off to market and then we get meat back. And I went to the butcher. I went to the slaughterhouse when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, and learned where meat came from.
I was going to say, from paddock to plate, you've seen it all.
I've seen it all, so I have no issues and qualms with eating meat. I appreciate every bit of meat I eat, Vegetarian I tried for a while. That was actually not too bad. And now I had this big thought in my mind where a meal's not a meal unless you have meat. And then I started to realise, but that's just an idea, the old meat and 3 veg that I grew up with. So I started
to the Aussie staple.
That's exactly right. So I started going, I have, what's different types of protein? Well, eggs, you got protein in eggs, so and things like that. So okay, that's my protein. As long as I cover off the protein. Sometimes I wouldn't have protein. I would just have a protein shake afterwards. And I just go, well, that's just getting me to that point. I've got all my.
If you have a snack, like say a piece of fruit,
my macros.
Where's the protein in that really? So you don't necessarily need to have it, but I mean, some people like that for fullness, satiety, whether or they want to try and meet their specific nutrient needs. But
I tried keto, and that was different. I didn't hate that, didn't love that.
Did you get your body in ketosis?
I don't think I did, but then saying that, I probably did as well. Like I didn't notice the smell of the urine and because I exercise so much, I drink so much fluid. My urine changes so often that it's like, because that's obviously a big one where you get that different smell. That it's like. Sometimes I'll be dehydrated and smell, but I'm like, is that because I'm dehydrated? Is that because I'm in ketosis? I don't know.
And it's hard to smell your own breath as well. Apparently your breath stinks.
Yeah, that's right. So, but in the end, I got really lean and strong, and it was great. But then I look back now, and I was probably a little bit too, I was too obsessed with. I wasn't obsessed about being lean. And now I've got a really good relationship with food.
It's hard to make choices when you go out to eat and enjoy the good times. So obviously. Home cooking, I love it. Like I really enjoy cooking from home.
So growing up on the farm.
And I think there's nothing better than a home cooked meal. All right, you can go and get $150 steak at a 5-star Michelin restaurant in the city, but I think you can get a piece of meat at home and make that 5-star at home.
The whole idea of going out and getting that $150 piece of meat is it's the enjoyment of the lead up. It's the enjoyment of the company. It's the enjoyment of the ambience, the surroundings. That's a lot of stuff you pay for. You don't just pay for that piece of meat.
Someone put the tablecloth, a napkin on your lap.
So that's that gratitude where you start to appreciate. If you break it down, there's so many things. Not
even
I appreciate dinner.
No,
what about everything? If you break it down, compartmentalize it, you can actually appreciate so many little parts of that process to get there.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you go that. You don't have to sit there and broadcast it to everyone, but in your own mind you go. That's awesome. And I don't have to do the dishes afterwards.
Exactly. That helps too. So like with food, I think if you're so restrictive in regards to diets, your life becomes obsessed and consumed by what you eat, and then you can't go out and enjoy those little times because we're like, that's not keto friendly, or that's not vegan, or I'm carnivore. I can't have anything other than animal products. So I can't even have a piece of bread to dunk in this fresh olive oil. Like, you can't do that, and then people have that sort of chip on their back and they're living this 7 days a week, but that 80-20 principle where you can be a bit flexible. And as long as you adhere to the 80, that 20 could pop up on a Monday, it could pop up on a Sunday, but if you're consistent and you stick at it, you're always ready. And I think that's the most important thing.
And once you get that there as well, because and you get the concept of as long as you've cooked the food, you can still cook bad food and do whatever, but as long as you've cooked it, again, that the credit that you've got to give yourself for putting the effort in to cook it, it's got to be part of the 80, because half of the process of getting the enjoyment out of food is the process of doing it. So that's got to come into the 80. No matter what you cook, you can still deep fry a piece of fish. Like that. You know what? You've made the batter yourself more than likely.
And you know what's in the batter. You know what the fish is. And you pretty much know what you're deep frying it in as well.
Exactly.
As opposed to buying it, then it's like. It's up in the air. Then there's a whole bunch of curiosity. What am I actually really eating?
So that 80, a lot of 80 is more to do with the effort. As much as because then the other, you feel good about yourself. 100%. And then that whole wellness thing is, it's like you're doing the right thing by yourself. But I see too many people so strict on what they eat, and I just go, mate, you can't be happy. No, look, they say they are, and each to their own. I'm not a big subscriber to cheat meals and things like that. Like if you're calling it a cheat meal, it's not a way to live. When do you stop that?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I went through some little stages of that in my life, and I was like, no, I'm just, it's a whole approach to life, and more than anything, it's relaxed. Exactly. Be relaxed, reduce the stress, stop being so hard on yourself. You know, if you eat a bit of shit food, you eat a bit of shit food. You know, I guarantee you that in the long run, the people aren't going to love you because you've got an ab or you don't have an ab.
Oh,
but I had that thought for a long time. And look, I'm in fairly good shape. I take care of myself. But that's also come off the back of me being more relaxed because I'm not so stringent on myself.
So you're looking at it from the other perspective now, and still physique's in pretty good nick, and yet you're actually enjoying it a lot more now.
But I'm not a big classic guy that's got muscles bulging out.
But who says that has to be what every man aspires to
for
be?
a long time in society and social media. But but again, and it's what not everyone, but it's what was told to be attractive. It's like women when they were put in magazines. You need to
big boobs, nice ass.
And that's right. And what it's done is it did create a lot of issues for men, which probably hadn't been addressed. That a lot of guys were like, they get on the human growth hormone, they get on stuff, and we know guys who've got on it. And I've also spoke to a number of those guys who now wish they never did.
Exactly.
Yep. One of the guys at the footy club, he goes at Virginia was like, I wish I never done it. He cried one night to me. He's one of the biggest blokes I know. Yeah. And he's just like, I wish I never got on it. He goes, because I can't get off it now because I've got stretch marks, I've got this. He goes, but I was so insecure that I need to be this way. Yeah. But again, you're not taught that as a kid. You know, it's a short-term view rather than that long-term gratification.
That's right. What's the fuel to get to that point?
That's right.
Yeah. What are those ingredients?
Deal with the issues why you want to be big. Don't deal with the issues of masking it, which is just going to tell you that.
100%.
Now again, you can obsess over this gym and things like which I have over the years as well. And again, it's getting a good relationship with food. It's getting a good relationship with gym. And it's I'm safe to say I'm at that point. And it's taken me a long time to get there. But I also but that's come from a lot of I've delved into myself, you know, and once you sort of understand why I wanted to be certain ways, and I realised it was insecurities and fears which led to anxiety, and I was like, I addressed them, I rationalised them, and I was like, they're still there. Yep. But I'm living a lot more happy, fulfilled life. 100%. Having understood it. Yeah. And that's what I'm big on encouraging people now to do. No, I love it. So the wellness stuff, obviously I've got an infrared sauna as well, which is... I was going to say, so just looking at your daily list so far, so cold glass of water, bit of salt, obviously you've got the diet down packed, 80-20, fairly balanced, mostly home cooked food. Your 20 minutes of mindfulness in the morning, but a bit of meditation, I suppose. So what else is in your daily plan on a regular day? Regular day, so cold shower. Cold showers are game changers. I started them probably 6 years ago. And when I say, again, I've gone through stages where for 3 months I haven't done them. You know, like it's just might be something going on in my life and it's just gone away. And it wasn't as important as it is to me now. Yeah. And again, it's that 5 to 6 days a week. If I don't do it one morning, I know I'm a big believer in David Goggins' principle, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yep. You know, and again, what you're doing is you're taking control of your own life. Because there's so much shit you don't want to do in life. But fucking do it. Yeah, has to be done. It has to be done. Yeah. You know, like, so again, it's all strawberries and cream. Yeah, that's right. So sometimes I don't want to do these cold showers. Middle of freaking winter. How cold is it? It would be probably 11, 12 degrees, you know, like coming out of the cold tap. Yep. Yeah, but I get in there slightly warm. And then I just go bang. And I don't ease it on, just go bang. Yep. And I sit there for a minute or two. And so you don't even start at warm? Lukewarm. Oh, lukewarm? Just to be able to get in there. Yeah. And then I might be 20 seconds. Because the human body, it's not done. It knows if you start with bloody full bore cold water, you don't want to get in there. But I've done that. Oh, you've done it? And again, because I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone. It's a good shock. And then the thing, it's easy to do it in summer. It's great, it's refreshing. It's hard to do it in winter. And then I do, but the biggest thing for me is it's not just getting the cold shower, it's then controlling my breathing and controlling my reaction. Because you feel like you're starting to get towards hypothermia. Because I've done cold showers before as well, and that breathing can become uncontrollable. Yeah. And you need to stop it. Yeah. You need to put a bit of heat into it. Yeah. But as they say, Dr. David Sinclair, who specialises in longevity, there's this thing in science called hormesis. Hormesis, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah. Things like this is sort of educating the body through adversity to sort of just give it a bit more of an array of experience. I agree. And I'm a very big believer on new experiences and testing your body and your mind, your strength, especially when you go, what is a cold shower really going to do? Is it going to kill me? I don't know. Am I going to be uncomfortable? You can't get the flu from a cold shower. Yeah. Now people go, do you heat up afterwards? No. I let my body naturally heat up. Yep. But it's amazing once you're in there for 30 seconds. And again, the biggest thing for me is controlling it's not just my breath, but it's my reaction. Because I used to be quite reactive when I was younger, and cold, I'd be like, whoa, freezing. I let it flow over me, and I sit there and I feel it.
It's a bit like hunger, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. And I go, I can try, and all of a sudden that's transpired in my life where I can control. I'm more conscious of when I'm about to react, and I can control it, and I can
understand your body a lot better.
Yeah,
it comes with age, but also it just comes with the ability to try different things to see what works, what doesn't.
Exactly right. So that's fantastic. That's been really good. Infrared saunas, I do a couple.
And you've got one just in your garage.
Yeah, but again, I spent my money on a lot of crap over the years, and I thought I did some maths on what I'd spent my money on crap.
Of course,
and I was like, hang on a sec. If I don't buy this crap for 3 months. Oh, not so crap. I thought it was made.
That's pretty much a free then.
I just bought an infrared sauna instead.
Yep.
But I wanted to set myself a goal, and I said, right, I'm not going to buy any of these things. I didn't buy any clothes for 3 months.
Yep.
It's like done. Didn't do this. Bought an infrared sauna.
Perfect.
Done. And I was like, now I've got one. And I was like, hey, have you got one? Well, again, I sacrificed, I saved, but it was also it's important to me because I understand the importance of an infrared sauna. I understand in the middle of winter, it's great to be in there and just get up there to 55, 60 degrees and sweat.
Yep.
You know, and I understand the benefits of it for your body. So,
what does that give you? What does the sauna give you? So clearly, people use the sauna for a whole range of different reasons. Like people want to lose weight, sweat out a little bit, get rid of the toxins, clean the skin.
Yep.
You can use it for meditation, really, if you think about it. It's like a heated meditation.
Yep.
A lot of people, have that time just to think about things and just have that alone time. So obviously, you're not having anyone join you in that sauna. It's just your alone time. It's your escape from your escape. So obviously, you live alone, right? So your escape from the rest of the world here. But then that's another escape from all the distractions from your TVs, from your emails, from your phones, everything like that.
It's great. I might put a bit of music on. It's a 4-man sauna, and I did that on purpose, where I can move the seats out. If I wanted to, I can go buy a roller and put it in there and do a roll and do rowing in there. I can actually exercise in there. I can go and get a bike and go, you know what, I'm going to do heat treatment exercise. 50 degrees, I'm going to whack it up, I'm going to go there, I'm going to cycle for 20 minutes. You know, like again, I'm not trying to, I can just stretch.
Yeah.
I can just sit in there and relax, like you said, and just stretch. And I do that. Sometimes I just sit there and just take a deep breath. Leave my phone away, and I just go 20 minutes on my own. It's another case of mindfulness, but it's also just a chance to switch off. And
the endorphins you probably get from that as well.
Yeah, exactly right. I feel good about myself. And I feel like that I've done something for me. Because for a long time I didn't know what I enjoyed. What I enjoyed was gambling. What I enjoyed was drinking with my mates. What I enjoyed was, to be honest, taking some drugs every now and then when I was out and about drinking. But that's not who I wanted to be. And I worked out who I wanted to be and where I wanted to be. And I go, right, I need to cut some of this shit out. It's not sustainable. Yeah. So
it's very easy. It's easier said than done to do that.
No, it is. But I took incremental steps, mate. One of the reasons I moved to Sydney was to get away from my environment because it wasn't healthy and sustainable for who I wanted to be.
Yep.
So I was doing extreme measure, but I was that hell bent on becoming the person I wanted to become.
It's a leap of faith.
It's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Was it fucking hard? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I went through some shocking times. But I'm here, mate.
Nothing good tastes from getting it easy.
No, that's right. And then, that's me. So the wellness side of things is huge. I journal. I don't just gratitude journal. I actually write stuff in my diary and do whatever. I do stuff in free writing. I've got some prompts.
Yep.
I read a lot. So I read now, and I don't read
audio books or actual reading.
No, actual reading. I've got a few podcasts to listen to. But I get more.
Hopefully, Turning Stones as well.
Have listened to a few of them, mate. Always supporting my mates doing that. I changed my way of reading about 3 or 4 months ago. Because again, one is I want to become a reader. Something's got to give. I can't do the life I was doing and then chuck reading on top. So I barely watch any TV now. That was my give and take. Right, so TV doesn't go on. It's amazing. It was so fucking hard at the start, sitting here in a quiet room, but now I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to sit there and read my book. I get my highlighter out. I study books now. I don't just study them to the point of like it's an exam. I just highlight things. And I read to try and understand. I don't read to remember.
That's right.
And that's a big thing. Because I used to read.
You're building knowledge and you're actually educating yourself at the same time.
The first thing I did, actually one of the first things I ever did the other day was, probably about 4 months ago, was I read a book twice. Never done that before in my life.
And the second time around, how many things you pick up that you didn't pick up the first time?
It was also easier to read, and I started to understand concepts, and I was like, fuck.
How good's that?
Yeah, so now I've got...
So you've learned. You haven't just read the words, you've learned what they mean.
Exactly right. So, and again, it's not a perfect process yet, I'm getting better at it. I've also put a number of books aside Well, I'm going to read them again. Some I've read, they're great. I don't think I need to read them again.
Yep.
I've got the concept. It's
That's
great.
it.
Done. Now again, people go, they don't have the time to do things. No, everyone's got the time to do something. It's what you prioritise the most.
That's right.
And it's hard because again, you've got to change your belief. As a young kid, I used to watch heaps of TV.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny, I didn't watch TV in the morning, we weren't allowed to because we got on the bus early.
Yeah.
So I had no want to put the TV on in the morning because that was when I was a kid. But at
Yeah.
night, it was TV went on. So that was I fought with myself a lot. And yeah, do I watch TV? Yeah, sometimes I do. Like, I don't beat myself up about it.
Exactly.
But then what suffers is my reading and who I want to be. So I always go back, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Right, that's it. So that's part of wellness as well.
Yeah.
Is that projection of who you
100%.
want to be. And then working, and once you go, this is actually where I want to be. And it's got nothing to do with, I want a family, I want this, I want that. It's who I want to be intrinsically as a person.
Yep.
I want to be knowledgeable. I want to be wise. I want to be active. I want to be healthy. And you go through and
You're respected by your peers.
Respected by your peers. So again, so then that also my behaviours I do change.
That's right.
Is what I'm doing, people going to look up to me? Probably not. Now there's a big transition where you probably go too far and you become too far away from who you are, and then you have to bring yourself back to going, hang on, there's so much that you love about yourself, and people you have mates, don't lose that part of it. It's been a big, long learning process because you do it all on your own.
Sometimes you think you know where the sweet spot is, but then you think you've hit it, but you haven't yet.
No.
Because then, once again, you're not really content. It's all about attaining that end goal. And then I guess eventually you are going to know where you are and get that to that sweet spot. But I think that learning curve is half the fun.
It is.
Just like getting a premiership, pretty much.
Yeah,
bringing it full circle, this chat.
Yeah.
It's all about, winning that flag. It's not necessarily just that day. It's about getting to that day.
And that's it, mate. So, and they're just some of the stuff I do, and mine's ever changing. I'm always looking for more things to do. I'm delving into some childhood trauma stuff at the moment. And it's not like I had a major incident happening as a kid, but it's more where my fears and anxieties come from, which were instilled in me in my informative years from 0 to 7. And I'm not obsessed with it, but I'm just so interested in knowing myself. And I know the benefits of working through this.
Yeah.
And again, it's taking responsibility for me. And I've created a better relationship with my parents by talking to them about this stuff and going, hey, when this used to happen as a kid, this is what it's become.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
The chain reactions.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we've bonded and understood that they're like, fuck, I get it.
Getting someone different perspective.
Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong. You did as best you could, but this is what.
This is how I perceive it.
Yeah.
This is how it's affected me.
That's right. So that's been fantastic. And then, and besides that, they're the main things I concentrate on. But I just love it, mate. Again, I'm trying to find creative outlets because again, footy is fantastic, but it's
not the be-all end-all.
It's not the be-all end-all. I started playing guitar at the start of the year. I'm terrible, but I love playing terrible guitar. I sit there, I put the footy on, and I put it on mute, and I sit there and I just play. I've got bum fingers.
Yep.
You probably can't see, but big hook fingers from playing footy and breaking my fingers and do whatever. And so I'm trying to get my finger dexterity back. But again, I just enjoy it, and I don't do it for anyone else than myself.
That's right.
But that's the other thing. I just
be selfish sometimes.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of things for other people in the sense of I'm seeking my beauty this way, that way. Taking a long time, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I will be weird and I'll be different.
You.
And if people don't like it, hey, mate, all good.
Yep.
Go do you. I'm doing me.
As long as you're contributing to the society, you're working, you're paying your bills.
Yep.
Really, what is anyone else's problem? What you actually do behind closed doors?
No, exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And in terms of sleep, obviously that's got a lot to do with mood, anxiety, mindfulness, wellness. What's your sleeping patterns like?
So
have you changed anything in regards to that?
So my sleeping pattern's interesting because I work a little bit of shift work and night work with my job as a
Which will make it a little bit more challenging.
And that does. And I'm lucky my brother's, he's a sleep scientist, so I have a little bit to do with him and we chat about it. I just try and get to bed at a reasonable hour. Again, I'm not necessarily a big subscriber of don't look at screens before bed, even though they say that. I'm not going to get obsessive about it because otherwise, when you do go to bed, and let's say you've looked at your screen for 20 minutes before bed,
it's going to play in your mind.
That's right.
So I can't go to sleep now.
More than anything, I take my magnesium tablet, I get in, I prep my room before bed at it could be 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. I prep my room. My little light goes on. I know my magnesium's next to the bed. I do whatever. I move the room and I go down. So when I'm done
you're setting the canvas ready for bed.
I just walk in and go to bed.
Yep.
And that's it. I try not to go and do my teeth and do whatever. I do that beforehand. Because again, if you go in there, next you turn the light on, you've got a bright light, do whatever. It's like, get everything done, get the canvas set, and then I go in there, I've got the book there, I just quickly read, and I fall asleep. Do I fall asleep all the time, straight away? No. Sometimes I have some sleepless nights and rest. I just try and stay consistent when I get up. Between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, I just try and get up, even on the weekends.
Yep.
And that's about it, really. I don't really count my sleep. I tried to for a long time. Again, that caused me more stress and anxiety.
Any trackers or anything like that?
I've tried them. I've tried the old Whoop strap.
How was that?
That was alright, but it's weird. I didn't like having something on my wrist at night. It actually annoyed me. So I thought, alright, send that back.
So it's great, and it's cool how much information it can give you.
Yeah.
But what you do with that information, is it overkill?
Yeah, and some of it is. And like you can get a Garmin and track it on there, which is fantastic. But again, it's like, for me, and this is for me, there's some things I don't need to obsess about.
Yep.
So, and the amount of sleep I've had, because there was a study done that you can actually convince yourself that you're not tired if you tell yourself you're not tired and you had a good night's sleep. There's a good study on it. So I started to believe that. So I tell my body sometimes when I've had 6 hours sleep and I'm a little bit tired, no, mate, I'll look myself in the mirror and I go, you had a good night's sleep. And it's funny, I'm still tired.
Yeah.
But I'm like, just initially I'm like, no, you had a good night's sleep. And your mind goes, no, I'm okay.
Exactly.
And it's like, I try not to succumb to being tired. And then that's like, and that's little things like that when you start to believe this stuff and it's actually true, that you can control your mind and how you're doing it. And not to the nth degree, but if you have 4 hours sleep, you're probably not going to be, you probably can't convince yourself.
No, 100%. I agree.
But yeah, like I said, some things I convince me, I obsess over, not to the nth degree, but sleep's one of those things. I just try and get to bed at a reasonable hour, which is try and get in bed between 9 and 9:30, and then I turn off once I'm tired.
Yeah.
And then once my book, I might be enjoying my book and I keep reading it. I might take a melatonin tablet every now and then just to help me get some sleep.
Yep.
Just to get to sleep. I'm now learning that there's different types of melatonin. So the one I'm taking doesn't actually get through to the brain. So and this is what wasn't Sinclair, it was another guy on a podcast spoke about the sleep concoction he's got now.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to trial that. And then
so
see what's happening.
You subscribe to supplements? You've obviously paid a few, so you mentioned protein powders, you've got melatonin,
I take creatine,
Yep.
my glutamine is really important, vitamin D tablet, as I said. I'm now starting to, as you mentioned David Sinclair before, I've purchased some NMN tablets, and I'm going to see how they go, because again, the old anti-aging of the cells, and it's quite interesting, and I believe enough studies have been done by him personally. It's not clinically done. There's no damage going to be done to take it.
And he practices what he preaches as well.
He does. So, and guys like Ben Greenfield, he's quite interesting stuff. He's said over
He's a biohacker.
I'd love to get some stem cells done, I'll tell you one day.
That'd be interesting.
Go to Panama and get that done. But yeah, supplements are there. I try not to go overboard with it. But again, just the constant ones. And I just try and stay constant with it. And I also try and cycle it where some days weeks I log, I'm not having any protein powder this week. I'm not having any glutamine. I'm not having any creatine. I like to keep my body guessing. Yeah. I don't want to get in 100% routine. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. I believe
your body will get
there's too much order in your life.
Yep.
And your body gets content, your mind gets content.
Loves it too.
And when you're taken out of that routine, out of that order, things don't feel right and you struggle.
Guess what you're teaching instead? You're teaching adaptation.
Yeah, exactly right. Comes from being uncomfortable.
That's right.
And I do notice a difference sometimes when I'm doing my creatine. I do notice that, especially with glutamine, I do feel a bit sore after going to the gym and doing whatever. But again, it's all knowing my body. I encourage people to just try new things and listen to their body and go, how does it make me feel?
Yeah, exactly. Not only just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint as well. Just change a few little things. Prioritise things in life. Making sure that you are being selfish and it's not bad to do so. Like people, always back in the day would say like, oh, he's pretty selfish, he just cares about his own ass. But you know what? We've sort of come full circle where we actually start to need to do that now again.
Well, there's a girl I knew recently, and like she's big in this space, and like really great human. She spoke about relationships and the relationship triangle, and how everyone, when kids in a relationship, it used to be, kids have got to be always first. And she was conveyed it to me that she got from her coach a guy called Brad Fennell, was no, you've got to be at the top of the triangle. It's you first, then it's the relationship, and then it's the kids.
Yeah.
Right? And then you chuck it, you might not have kids, you might not be in a relationship. So it's me first, then it's my family or friends, and then it's my family or friends. And then it might be work relationship.
Yeah.
You still got to put yourself first, because if you fill in your emotional cup and you're able to be happy within yourself, you can then go down and be happy with your partner and deal with their issues and support them, and then you can go do the kids. But if you just deal with the kids, then your relationship, and then you're left
neglect yourself.
You're
crashing bed.
You're crashing bed, and I've been there. I've done that, and now I'm in a big transition period in my life where it's not. It's me first, not to the point of detriment to others. It's just that I've learned to say no. I'm like, oh, no, sorry, mate, I can't do dinner at 8.
Yep.
It's too late.
Yeah.
That's fine. Oh, well, why was it too late? Well, it's for me, it's too late. And it's amazing, you set those boundaries and people are okay with it. If we do set it, it's fine, mate. I just can't do late. Like, it's just too late for me.
Yeah.
Because again, my importance is I know the next day, if I don't get enough sleep, I get a bit down in the dumps. So I need my sleep, and that's a priority.
Yep.
And that's the thing. That's that whole relationship triangle. It's not just to do with it's everything in life.
100%.
Put yourself first. Get yourself happy. As long as you're not doing it at the detriment of others, because everything like the relationships is compromising to whatever. But you need to put yourself first. Fill your emotional cup.
Yep. I agree.
So,
Polly, I've got a whole bunch of topics to talk about.
Yep.
You're a great man.
Thanks, mate.
There's a lot more to talk about. We both know.
Yep.
But today we're just going to have to put a halt to it.
No, that's
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And just quickly, just to let everyone know, what are we drinking here?
A bit of quintessential tea. So it's just
quintessential tea.
Yeah. So it's just a nice little loose leaf, and I've got my little teacups in there. It's nice to actually have someone to share it with. I spend more time on my own these days.
And of course, loose leaf. You're not a subscriber to tea bags?
I think it's as little process in anything you eat is better. And to buy a loose leaf, all I had to do was buy
a strainer there,
a teapot, and off I went, mate. So I think there's a slightly different taste to it as well. And 100%. Less process.
Thank you for the tea. Thank you for the water.
Mate,
and thank you for
your
your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.
Legend.